Good evening, and thank you for joining this live virtual telephone town hall meeting hosted by the Regional Transportation District. I'm Roger, and I'll be your moderator tonight as we have a conversation with RTD Director Bob Broom, who represents District F. Now, District F represents part of Aurora, west of I-225 and south of Colfax, as well as parts of Denver, Greenwood Village, and Centennial, south of Yale and east of I-25. We also have agency staff joining us to answer your question tonight, and they will introduce themselves during the call. Tonight we'll be covering several topics, including customer safety initiatives, RTD's fare study and equity analysis, current recruitment efforts, and the next steps to reimagine RTD. This is your opportunity to share your thoughts about RTD and ask questions. If this is your first time on a virtual telephone town hall, here's how it works. To ask a question, just press *3 on your telephone keypad and you'll be transferred to an operator who will take down some basic information and get you in the queue. Once the operator has your information, you can listen to the conversation until it's your turn. And then when I call your name, please repeat your question for our live audience. We want to answer as many questions as we can tonight, so please be brief when it's your turn to ask your question. If you're participating online at rtd-denver.com/town hall, you can ask a question or take part in polls directly from the streaming player. And folks on the phone can also view the slide deck on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube or on the website, you can certainly submit questions as a comment. We want to hear from you too. So now it's my pleasure to introduce District F Director Bob Broom. Thank you for joining us tonight, Director. Go ahead. Director, you may be muted.
Good evening. Can you hear me now?
We sure can. Go ahead, Director.
Thanks for joining our conversation this evening. I'm excited to answer your questions and to share important updates with you. Again, to ask a question, press *3 or enter your question or comment online. Roger, before we dive into this first topic, I'd love to learn a little bit about the folks who have joined us tonight from RTD to respond to questions. Let's ask our first survey question.
All right, Director, happy to do that. As Director Broom just mentioned, we would like to learn a little bit about those of you joining us tonight. It's easy to participate. All you have to do is use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. And if you're participating online, just type or click your response. Here's that question. How frequently do you ride RTD services? Press 1 for every day. Press 2 for once or twice a week. Press 3 for once or twice a month. Press 4 if you ride a few times per year. And press 5 if you do not currently ride RTD. Please record your vote now, and we'll share the results with you in a few moments. And again, if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, please press *3 on your telephone keypad. We have 2 operators standing by. They'll get you in the queue right away, and we really want to hear from you. There has been a lot of news coverage about safety concerns in the Denver metro area. I'd like to ask Steve Martingano, Interim Chief of RTD's Transit Police Division, to introduce himself and talk about what RTD is doing to help improve safety on transit, as well as at RTD stations and bus stops. Chief, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. As mentioned, my name is Steve Martingano. I'm the Interim Police Chief with the RTD Transit Police Division. I've been in law enforcement for 29 years and the last 6.5 here at RTD. So we've heard our customers concerned about inappropriate behavior they are seeing around the city lately. And as more and more people are utilizing transit again, whether they're coming back to the office or just going out for a night on the town, safety and security is a top priority for RTD. Every day, RTD staff works hard to make sure customers get to their destination safely and securely. And one of the areas of concerns is unwanted activities at the transit areas, especially at Denver Union Station. Collaboration with the City and County of Denver, RTD announced in April security enhancements to the bus concourse. In the short term, we're fixing some lighting and better illumination. We are converting entrance and exit points to emergency exits to allow for better pedestrian flow, and we are doing consistent deep cleaning to making sure that the area is comfortable. So this is a short term. The overall long term is a 12 to 16 months where we are trying to turn the bus concourse, which is the bus terminal underneath the rail platforms, into a paid fare area. This is going to be utilized to restrict access to those only who are using the buses to commute. This is going to involve a redesign of the area and is expected to cost anywhere from $10 to $15 million. These are expensive upgrades, and under our strategic priority of financial success, RTD takes very seriously the management of financial resources, and this project is no exception. So RTD plans to reinvest funds from the return of the approximately $29 million credit risk premium, which was part of the original investment into Union Station, and we're going to utilize that to implement and construct design improvements and to enhance the customer experience when utilizing the station.
Director, how can customers stay up to date on these changes?
Roger, RTD has launched a web page dedicated to providing updates on the facility enhancements at Denver Union Station, which you can find by visiting rtd-denver.com. Customers can also sign up for a newsletter on the website. In addition to the enhancements to the Denver Union Station, RTD is making other changes to ensure customers are safe when traveling. Cliff, would you talk about those changes?
Absolutely, Director. In March, I became the interim police chief, and the first thing I did was I broke our police department into 4 sectors. So we have a bus impact team, a rail impact team, a community engagement officer, as well as health and homeless. So those are RTD with the first public transportation agency to have a mental health co-responder unit. That's where we put mental health clinicians with our police officers, and they ride around and try to assist individuals that are experiencing mental health episodes. We also utilize secondary employment officers from local police jurisdictions. Right now we have a contract with Denver, Aurora, as well as Thornton PD. And then we also have our security contract with Universal. Those are probably the 11 hours that we dedicate a week to security, and that equates to about 295 security officers on the contract itself. So with these changes in partnership with the local police departments, we are all working together to help RTD quickly respond to customer safety issues.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for that. And you are breaking up a little bit, so just thought I'd let you know that. We sometimes get calls from customers who wonder why the commuter rail lines, including the A line and the G line, have armed security on each train, but light rail lines do not always have an officer or a private security personnel traveling with the train. Can you explain why that is?
Yeah, that's a great question. The Federal Railroad Administration, also known as the FRA, requires a second crew member to be present on all of our commuter rail vehicles, but they do not require such a mandate for our light rail vehicles. While we do not have security personnel on every single light rail vehicle trip, our rail impact team that I mentioned earlier, along with our security personnel, they do ride the system, checking fares and ensuring customers are traveling safely. But really the best tool we have, and I want to encourage everyone to download it, is RTD Transit Watch app. It's free on either the Apple or Android. Customers to report security and safety concerns easily. The ability to download an app or have a smartphone, you can call us at 303-299-2911. Either the app or that phone call will go directly to one of our 2 911 certified transit police dispatch centers. The only thing I ask is you be as specific as possible when reporting a situation. Include your location or the location where you saw the incident. And if there's any persons involved, please give us a really good detailed description on that. So, and anytime you submit an incident report, again, whether it's by phone or by the Transit Watch app, you are helping our team resolve situations and also providing information that helps us determine where we should be refocusing our resources.
Thank you, Steve. In case you missed any of that, you can download the Transit Watch app on both your Apple and Android smartphones. And if you're like my mom and don't have a smartphone, you can reach RTD's Transit Police at 303-299-2911. Before we get to your questions, here is the answer to our first survey question. Again, we asked, how frequently do you ride RTD services? 39% said you do not ride currently on RTD. 34% said a few times per year. And 16% of you said you ride daily. We appreciate our customers choosing to take transit. It's environmentally friendly and helps reduce both pollution and congestion. And for those 39% who don't currently use transit, RTD continues to work hard to improve services. So give us a try. All right, let's get to your questions tonight. We're going to hear first from Richard.
Hi there, good evening. This question is for Director Broom. And it's, when was the last time you rode an RTD bus and a train, and how was your experience?
I last rode a couple weeks ago the H train from 9 Mile to downtown Denver to attend a couple pension board meetings. The implications that I got by looking around was that the cars were much cleaner than they were when there was a lot more traffic on them. The train was on time, and the train showed up, and so I was quite pleased with the service the last time that I used it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Let's go next to an online question. This is from Susan. She says, I often travel alone on RTD. What should I do if I'm suddenly in a situation that makes me feel unsafe? Chief, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, Roger. Like I had mentioned earlier, the RTD Transit Watch app is really the best thing you could do and utilize, or, give us a call again at 303-299-2911. If you're seeing something as suspicious, please go ahead and report it. We have our police dispatchers are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Any way you call it in or you utilize the app, please be specific, and we'll know what resources to send right out there. As one of our board members always states, if you have the RTD Transit Watch app, you're alone. So it is a great tool.
All right, thank you. Let's go back to the phones and listen, hear from Mike. Mike, go ahead. You're live with our audience.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
I have more of just a personal question. I have a little electric scooter that I like to ride around. It has a few miles of range, and I would like to ride the bus or the light rail to get across town and then be able to finish my journey with my scooter. And I kind of felt like it was a bicycle, but I've been denied several times, either bringing my scooter in, which folds down, is pretty small, or bolting it in the front, like a bicycle. So I guess I was just asking what the policy is about electric scooters with the bus and the light rail.
All right. Who'd like to take that? Chris? Or
it's a weird one, huh?
Brandon? Go ahead. One of you. Well,
yeah, hi, Mike. This is Chris.
Hi there. This is Brandon Figliolino. I'm with Community Engagement. Sorry, it took me a second to get off mute. So e-bikes, our current policy was written to address internal combustion vehicles prior to the development of e-bikes and e-scooters. But with the public interest in battery-powered e-bikes and foldable e-scooters, RTD is currently revisiting its policy, but we don't have an update to report just yet.
Thanks, Brandon. We are looking into it. We realize that times are a-changing. These have been some great questions so far. Thank you for that. As a reminder, to ask a question live, just press *3. We've got Tia and Jennifer standing by to take down your information, and we'll get you in the queue right away. And if you're participating online at rtd-denver.com/town hall, you can ask a question or take part in polls directly. We're going to move on now to our next topic for tonight's call, RTD's Fair Study and Equity Analysis. Chris Quinn is with us tonight. Chris, would you introduce yourself and provide an update?
Yeah, hi, Roger. This is Chris Quinn, and I am with the RTD Planning Department, and I'm one of the project managers for the Fair Study and Equity Analysis. And just a little bit of background on this, we have heard repeatedly from our customers that our current fare structure is just too expensive and very confusing to use. And as an agency, one of our strategic priorities is customer excellence, where we strive to deliver consistent, high-quality customer service. And so the Fair Study and the Equity Analysis will help us to identify areas where we can improve the customer experience when taking transit. So the Fair Study is seeking to understand customers' opinions and preferences on current RTD fares and how RTD can improve them. To date, RTD has hosted 2 public meetings, including one that was conducted solely in Spanish. And we've also held what we're calling some customer feedback panels as well as some focus groups. And in addition, we've invited customers to provide feedback on the current fare structure using a survey. That survey was available in English, Spanish, Chinese, and Vietnamese, and we received over 2,400 responses to that survey.
Chris, is the community engagement for the Fair Study over? Where's RTD in the current process?
Yeah, so we expect that the study will continue through 2022 and then probably be wrapped up sometime in early 2023 or first quarter of 2023. So yeah, there will be a lot more opportunities for customer to share their ideas. Then in fact, during the summer, we will give customers the opportunity to get involved in the evaluation of conceptual fare options and the trade-offs that are associated with those alternatives. And we will be hosting a series of public meetings, one on June 23rd and one on June 29th. Both of those meetings are at 6 o'clock. The one on the 23rd, that will be in English. The one on the 29th, that will be in Spanish. Both meetings, as I said, will be online. If you go to our website, just do a search for the RTD Fair Study. It'll take you to the page, and you can register online for those meetings. Also want to emphasize that in the fall, we will connect once again with the public with another round of public meetings, and that will be to go over a refined list of fare alternatives. I also want to note that before any changes to the fare framework go into effect, we'll also have a series of public hearings. We would expect those to be early next year, where the public can see the final proposed changes and offer their feedback before this goes to the board.
Chris, where can people learn more about this process?
Yeah, so if you're interested in offering feedback or just getting general information or signing up for updates, if you go to RTD's Fair Study webpage, and rather than reading the actual URL link, I'll just say if you do a search for RTD Fair Study, that'll take you right to the Fair Study webpage. And like I said, on that page, you can sign up for updates or just review the information that's already been produced to date. And a couple of other things that I do want to note related to fares. Just want to emphasize also that RTD does currently offer discounted fares for youth, people with disabilities, and seniors. And in addition to that, we do have discounts available for low-income residents as part of the RTD Live program. Likewise, additional information on that is available on our website, just the main RTD webpage. If you go click on the fares and discounts, that'll show you the various discount programs that are available to the public. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris. Let's take a moment to ask our second survey question. Again, just use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. And here is that question. Do you believe that RTD fares should be more affordable, even if it results in less service? Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no, and press 3 if you're not sure. Record your vote now. I'll share the results with you in just a moment, and we're going to get back to some questions. Here is one that was submitted online, and that is from Caleb. Caleb asks, how does RTD define equity? Chris, do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, thanks, Roger. In terms of, so when we're talking about the FAIR study, we mention equity quite a bit. And what is it that we're talking about when we're talking about equity? Well, our general definition of that is that equity promotes the fair distribution of resources and opportunities with a strong emphasis on making sure that we're taking into account historically underrepresented communities and Title VI protected populations. I want to note also that RTD strives to ensure that any plan changes to our FAIR system or even any type of projects that we're implementing, making sure that they will not negatively impact customers based on race, color, or national origin, or if low-income populations, making sure that they're not bearing a disproportionate burden of the changes. So that's a real quick definition on how we define equity.
All right, thank you. Let's hear from Coffee on the phone. Coffee, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, why is there not enough security or police officers on that Colfax bus?
Yes, the 15. Chief, you want to talk a little bit about that, how we partner with other jurisdictions?
Yeah, great question, Coffee. I will tell you the 15 probably gets the most security. Like I had mentioned earlier, we have our internal police department, so our officers are always along the 15. But then we do secondary employment with Denver and Aurora. So we have Denver officers dedicated to the 15 from all the way. We ask them to drive up and down Colfax all the way from Sheridan to Yosemite. And then Aurora PD has officers that are dedicated just to bus as well. And they check it from Yosemite all the way up to like pretty much Billings is where our turnaround is, where we see most of the problem. Our heavily populated buses, but it's also our most security-driven buses as well.
I would assume, maybe Mo knows this, that statistic that the 15 is our top ridership route in the system. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, this is Mo Sullivan, Senior Service Planner and Scheduler on the East Team, and yes, the 15 definitely is our highest performing bus route in terms of ridership. It has been for a long time and continues to be. So.
All right, great. Let's go back and hear from
Broom.
Arlene.
I might just add, part of the problem is that we have a lot of vacant positions in security and in almost across the board with, at RTD. And this isn't just RTD. People are having trouble hiring people all across our economy. So until things normalize and we see our staffing levels get back up, we're always going to be a little bit short in all areas. And so I would encourage people to call in like this and to complain because, the squeaky wheel does get greased once in a while. And so it's worth it if you think that there's something that's really serious that's not being addressed by RTD. Thank you.
You, Director, and we're going to have a segment on the workforce situation here in a few minutes, so that's very timely comment about how RTD is facing some staffing shortages. Let's go and take one more question from the phone, and that's going to be now. We'll go to Arlene on the phone. Go ahead, Arlene. Well, looks like Arlene, we've dropped Arlene. Sorry about that. And we will then go to a question came in online, and that is What should I do if I see someone using drugs or doing something illegal on the bus or train? That's a message, a question from Scott. Chief, we're hearing a lot of this, and Director, we're hearing a lot about this. We're really focusing and doing our best, but I think you've covered it. But maybe one of you want to have another, say something else about the security and safety issues.
Roger, again, I can't put enough emphasis on the RTD TransWatch app or calling our police dispatch at 303-299-2911. That's going to be the best way and the quickest way to get, some type of resources out there to stop whatever incident you're seeing. Drug usage is obviously a rampant problem right now throughout the state of Colorado as well as the country, and we continue to put forth efforts like, I had just, stated coffee as well. We know certain routes are more publicized, and higher ridership. If you keep letting us know what times you are taking on transportation and the times and routes you're seeing situations like possibly, drug usage or anything, please report it, because we utilize that data whenever you call our transit police dispatch to find out the best times to deploy our resources and make sure that we're there when you are there.
Here are the results of our second survey question. I was on mute. We asked, do you believe that RTD fares should be more affordable, even if it results in less service? 45% of you said no, 40% said yes, and 15% of you are not sure. Thanks for your participation. We will have another survey question in just a few minutes. For those of you that joined us late, good evening. This is a live virtual telephone town hall hosted by the Regional Transportation District, or RTD. I'm Roger, your moderator, and we are talking with Director Bob Broom from District F. We also have agency staff joining to answer your questions. And as a reminder, press *3 on your telephone keypad. That'll get you in line to ask a question live, and you can also submit questions online or as a comment on YouTube. Let's take another question, and we're going to hear from Dave. Dave, go ahead.
Hi, yes. I was looking at wanting to be able to use your bus line because I'm getting a free EcoPass for my work, as well as a dozen other of my workers. But unfortunately, we all get off past way past midnight, and would like to be able to get back to places like Aurora or to 9 Mile Station. But unfortunately, there's nothing that actually comes up until after 5:30 a.m., leaving us with an option of not being able to use our EcoPasses. Is there a way for you guys to be able to extend those services and those times?
Hi, this is Mo Sullivan, Senior Service Planner and Scheduler with RTD. So we used to have services that were out later at night, and then, when the pandemic hit, we definitely cut a lot of those services back, including the H line to 9 Mile. And we continue to kind of not see a huge demand for those really late night services, especially during the week. And we also are really struggling with workforce, so we don't currently have enough operators to expand those hours. But certainly as the demand picks up and as we hire and retain more operators, we will look to bring back those services to connect you later at night. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mo.
I might add, from my position on the board, I'd like to see hours added back into our schedule as funding permits, as opposed to seeing new routes started up. So, but there's a trade-off there, obviously. We've only got so much money and we've only got so much manpower, and so it's a juggling act, and it's really important for people to contact RTD when we're talking about changing our schedules 3 times a year and let us know about situations like this so that we'll have that information when we make those tough decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Director, for that. Appreciate your insight. It's a challenge to figure out all this service. Before we move to our next topic, let's ask our third survey question. Again, use your telephone keypad. Enter the number of your response. Here's that question. What factor would increase your likelihood of taking RTD services the most? Press 1 for more affordable fares. Press 2 for a system where you feel safer. Press 3 for more frequent bus and train service. And press 4 for more service coverage in your area. While you're recording your vote, I'm going to ask Director Broom to introduce the next topic. Director.
Thank you, Roger. Let's talk about people power, which we brought up a little bit earlier. At RTD, we have a workforce of over 3,500 employees. Positions include bus and rail operators, mechanics, administrative staff, and many, many more specialty positions. Moss, would you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about our workforce?
Yeah, Director Broom, I'd be happy to. So again, my name's Mo Sullivan. I'm the Senior Service Planner and Scheduler for the East team. So that's all of the bus routes in the eastern part of the RTD district, so everything in Director Broom's district. And so one of our strategic priorities at RTD is employee ownership, and that's through that we seek to attract and retain really highly skilled and engaged employees. I think one of the best things about working at RTD is all of the great employees I've met, coworkers, or even just the bus drivers and train operators I've met. When I'm out doing field work or just trying to get to and from work or where I need to go. So we are people who move people, and to help keep our transit system reliable, we need to make sure we have enough people to do that. So we're hiring for key positions across the agency, some of which the most important are train and bus operators, as well as body shop technicians and mechanics. And many of those positions, including all the ones I just mentioned, are eligible for a $4,000 signing bonus, and a new CBA was just signed to also increase the starting wages for those positions. So if you or a friend or a family member are looking for a great career in public service, a pension job, a union job, consider applying for one of these openings. And then to find out about more of the openings, you can go to rtd-denver.com/careers. Thanks.
That's great. Director, what are some of the benefits that you are most excited about and would like to share for those considering joining the RTD team?
Thank you, Roger. I'm excited about the new collective bargaining agreement signed by the Amalgamated Transit Union, ATU Local 1001, and the RTD in February of this year. It offers additional benefits to employees with positions covered under the union. RTD offers competitive wages, education allowances, an excellent retirement savings plan. I serve on a couple of the retirement boards, and paid in-house training programs, to name a few. What you may not know is RTD also offers an extensive training program where you can learn to operate a train. If you are interested in becoming a bus operator or train operator, we would like to help you get a commercial driver's license or CDL. This course brings with it some additional problems that we've experienced over the last year, where we train up people and help them get a commercial driver's license, and then they were hired away by other entities that had a higher pay scale. And this new union contract really drastically increased our pay schedule so that we're not experiencing that bad of a drawdown on our workforce after we bring them up and train them. If individuals that are interested are encouraged to review open positions on RTD's website, www.rtd-denver.com/careers. If you don't see a position you're interested in now, check back often. We are always have something new on the job board. Roger, why don't you pause for a couple of questions?
I will sure do that, Director. It's expensive to train them and have them leave, so hopefully folks will stick around a little longer. Before I go to questions, let me share the results of our third survey question. We asked what factor would increase your likelihood of taking RTD services the most. And 33% of you said more frequent bus and train service. 28% said a safer system, and 28% said more service in my area. Again, thank you for your input. We'll have one more survey question later, and let's go back to questions as Director Broom suggested. We're going to take an online question that was submitted by Santiago. Santiago, he asks, what do jobs pay at RTD? We've been hearing that the starting rates are higher. Mo, what are some of those rates?
Yeah, definitely. Be happy to share that. So for bus and rail operators right now, the starting wage is $24 an hour. For body shop technicians, the starting rate is $27.98 an hour. And for service and cleaning positions, the starting rate is $18.42 an hour. We also have a lot of openings for public safety dispatchers right now, and that salary starts at $53,000 per year. So if I didn't mention any of the ones that you're interested in or want to apply for, you can also check for other openings, as we've mentioned before, at rtd-denver.com/careers. Thanks.
You bet. Director, do all positions qualify for the $4,000 signing bonus?
No, I think they apply only to those most critical need to the district.
That makes sense. Probably body shop, rail and bus operators, mechanics, public safety areas. So that makes a lot of sense.
That's right, as opposed to purely administrative positions.
All right. Let's talk next about Reimagine RTD. That is the agency's plan for the next 5 years. I'm going to go back to Chris Quinn to give us an update on Reimagine. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. This is Chris Quinn, once again with the RTD Planning Department. And just by introduction, I want to note that at RTD, we strive to be a strong community partner by providing value to customers as well as the broader metro region. And as our first strategic priority, the Reimagine RTD initiative falls under this priority. So the Reimagine RTD effort is a process to develop and address the transit challenges that we're currently facing, as well as answer the question of what is next for RTD. Some of our current challenges include reductions in ridership resulting from the pandemic and limited options for increasing consistent funding for the future. So the Reimagine effort provides a framework to guide future service decision-making for the district via two key components. And those two components are as follows. One is a system optimization plan, and that's the redesign of RTD services to balance the needs of the traveling public with the financial realities that we are currently facing. The second component is a mobility plan for the future, and that's an identification of long-term strategies between now and 2050 to address the region's future mobility needs. Now, we've just completed the first component, that's the system optimization plan, which looks at the near term, and that's within 5 years. Now, we did put that plan out for review in the January timeframe. We received over 1,600 comments, and we've gone through all of those comments, and where feasible, adjustments were made to the plan to reflect those comments. We expect that implementation will be phased in over the next 5 years, so between now and 2027. And some of it obviously is going to be dependent, though, on the availability of operator resources. Now, RTD is also developing a mobility plan for the future. So again, the second component of Reimagine, and that's addressing the long-term plan, long-term needs of RTD through 2050. We expect that in July, the board will act on the system optimization plan, and at that same time, they will also determine how to move forward with the mobility plan for the future. So that's a real quick summary of the Reimagine RTD effort.
Chris, if folks submitted comments earlier this year to be included in the Reimagine plan when the comment period was open, how or what will RTD do with those comments?
Yeah, so as I noted, we did receive quite a few comments. In fact, we received over 1,400 comments. All of those were actually reviewed, and where possible, we did make adjustments to the plan to reflect comments wherever possible. So, yeah, we were very pleased with the amount of interest that people had in it, and as I said, those comments were taken into account. So.
All right. Did you see any common themes from the comments, Chris, as you reviewed them?
You know, so a lot of the comments that a lot of the systems optimization plan was kind of a redesign, mostly of the bus network, areas where we could consolidate services, and especially in the central parts of the metro area, on routes like, say, the 15 that go through Colfax and Denver, Aurora. A lot of what we did here was some of the proposals that we made, as an example, maybe to truncate a route a little bit early, before the end. We did hear that there were maybe, say, quite a few users, or maybe a specific use that we weren't aware of that's further down. So those were the type of accommodations that were made. In general, we did receive quite a bit of support, though, for the plan as it was proposed.
Right. Thank you, Chris, for that. Let's go back and hear from next Mike. Mike on the phone. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going? So my question regards surveillance aboard RTD vehicles, light rail, buses, and sundry, cameras, recording equipment. Now, my focus isn't about privacy or any sort of fear along that way. My focus is more on security. Several years ago, I was involved in a violent altercation on the H line coming from downtown Denver to Aurora, and it was 11 or 12. It was late at night. I elected not to report that to the police or anything, but it did occur to me: was there footage being recorded either on board the vehicle or at the station? And would I have been able to somehow subpoena or ask for that footage? And my subsequent question is, if there are not cameras and surveillance watching for these sorts of things, why not? Is it a privacy issue, a cost issue, or something else? And yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Mike, good question. Chief?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So you had a lot of things in that question, so I'll try to answer it all. So RTD puts a lot of money into surveillance cameras. We have thousands of them throughout our systems, our buses, our trains, our platforms, our parking rides. They are all over our district. Now, the incident you said, that you were victimized on, if you would have, it could have happened two ways for us to get you that video footage. One is if you would have done a police report, and told the police department that, hey, I was on the RTD bus, in this route and everything else, they would have contacted us and asked us for that video to try to find any suspects or involvement in that crime or details and such. We work very, very closely with all the 40 plus local police departments within our service area, and the eight sheriff's departments. They all know about us. They know there are sometimes lines out the door because they know even if a bus is to go by a certain area, because of the way we have cameras, they'll sometimes ask us if we could just look at bus cameras to see if they could pick up anything. So we have, our security on that, on technology is really great. The second way you could do it, or anyone could do it, is you could do a CORA request. So if you go to the RTD website and you type in the word CORA, CORA is Colorado Open Records Act, and you say, hey, I would like to try to get video on this. You go ahead and you fill out the online request. Somebody from our CORA office, and they will get back to you and let you know if that video is downloaded and when you can pick it up or send it to you and stuff of that nature. So I'm hoping that answered everything, but yes, we get a lot of federal funding, a lot of grants. We just recently got a grant where we're going to put live looking on every single bus. So that will be if a bus operator is seeing something, they'll be able to hit a button, and then our 911 police dispatchers will be able to hop onto those cameras and look into the bus as live as it's happening. So RTD is very dedicated to surveillance in regards to putting more security out there in the cameras, but we also use it for other things as well. ADA issues. There's other components that we need to have video for. It's not just based on security and security all day long.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate that info. Mo, I subscribe to RTD service alerts, and sometimes there are cancellations on my route. I know it's a tough job scheduling all these buses around a very large district. What is RTD doing to mitigate cancellations, and how do you do this scheduling anyway?
Yeah, Roger, great question. As a reminder, Mo Sullivan, Senior Service Planner and Scheduler for the eastern part of the RTD District. As many of you may or may not know, the RTD District is 2,300 square miles about. And so that is, we have one of the largest service districts of any transit agency in the country. So we definitely have to weigh a lot of different factors when figuring out service. So as was kind of mentioned before, we do adjust the service 3 times a year with our service change process. And things we look at during that process is, one, on-time performance. Are the routes arriving when you expect them to? And if not, how can we make schedule adjustments to make sure that those routes are more reliable for you? We also look at ridership. How are the routes performing? Are they, serving a lot of people, or do we need to make tweaks to them so that we can make sure they're serving as many people as possible? And then another thing we need to consider is our own, operations. So how many operators do we have available? Do we have the same amount available as we did last run board? And if not, do we, if we have fewer operators available, that means, we would probably look to do a service cut. But if we have more available, that might mean we could do some sort of service restoration in this case, or a service increase. And so as you may have noticed, we haven't done a lot of service restoration yet because unfortunately we are still kind of in a workforce shortage, and we have not been able to acquire a lot of new operators. And so therefore we can't increase the amount of service because we don't want to offer service that we know won't be there because we don't have someone to drive that. Now, you may have noticed we still are dropping trips or runs, and that can be due to a variety of different things. So it could be, an operator retired, or they decided they no longer want to be an operator, so they quit. So we're losing operators and don't have anybody to fill that position that day to drive that route. Or with COVID, if someone gets sick, as it can be very contagious, that can spread to other operators. And so it could be several operators are out that day because they may have tested positive for COVID or think they're sick. And we definitely don't want to expose any of our public or riding passengers to that. So if they call off, then, and we try to, we do have what we call an extra board. So people who are there just in case someone can't show up for their shift for any reason. But we're even going through that every day. And so by the time we go through our extra board, the only option left is to unfortunately cancel that trip or cancel that run, that work that operator was supposed to do that day. And so unfortunately, when that happens, we send out rider alerts or service alerts. So if you're not already subscribed to those, I highly recommend that you do that, and you can do that through our website, and you can specify which routes or which stops that you normally use. And then you'll get notifications whenever there are cancellations. You can even specify, the time of day that you usually ride. And one thing we really try to do to mitigate the impact is we try to make sure that we don't have, 2 trips in a row canceled, especially if it's an infrequent service, the one that only comes, every 30 minutes or every hour. And similarly, we try to never cancel the very last trip of the evening, so that no one's stranded, but you always have an option to get home. So that's some ways we mitigate as much as possible. And the good thing about the service alerts or when these trips are canceled is it does come through our downstream system. So if you're looking up, what service you need to get from a certain point on our trip planner, those trips will show up as canceled on the trip planner, and similarly they'll be reflected in RTD Next Ride, and even if you use some third-party apps. So I know the Transit app, for example, is one I use, and those canceled trips are reflected even in that app. So really highly recommend signing up for service alerts through our website, and also using those apps as resources to make sure that you can either, catch either the earlier or the next trip afterwards. And we're hoping that we can, hire more operators so that we can provide that more reliable service for you all. And I did talk about the service change a little bit. We're about to go into our service change public hearing process for the change that will go into effect in August. And so those service change meetings are coming up. So they will be June 21st and 22nd. So you can check for details on those on the RTD website. And that's another great forum to give us feedback about what kind of services you all are looking for. Thanks.
Thank you, Mo.
One thing I might add, if I might, in the past year, that's been a major change as far as employees are concerned is, in the past, we used mandatory overtime to cover missing employees that were out for vacation, sick, and so forth. The problem with that is it almost became permanent, and people were working 6 days a week, week in and week out, and that caused a lot of them to say, I don't want to work for RTD anymore, and they left. And so, it turned out to be counterproductive to use that forced overtime. So we don't do that anymore, and we are hopeful that that's going to help us in our hiring process and in our retention process to keep our operators, on board and our slots covered. Thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully better quality of life means people will stick around longer. Okay. We have our final survey question for the evening. Callers, please use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. And again, if you're online, just click or enter your response. Here's our last question. How satisfied are you with RTD's services overall? Press 1 for very satisfied. Press 2 for satisfied. Press 3 for somewhat dissatisfied. And press 4 for very dissatisfied. If you'll press your vote in now. We'll share those results with you in a few minutes. And I'm going to go back to Director Broom. We're nearing the end of our time for this evening. What else would you like to share with your audience or constituents about RTD or the district?
Well, thank you, Roger. I wanted to provide a quick update on our transition to account-based ticketing. Over the summer, RTD will be changing our ticketing validators on buses and station platforms. ABT is a ticketless way of allowing people to travel on public transportation where customers simply tap or scan a secure token such as a smart card, think a new My Ride card, mobile device, or a credit card. The new system will implement fare capping, a fare policy that ensures customers always pay the best fare regardless of when and how they pay for their trips.
Thank you, Director. Chris, if when we move to an ABT or account-based ticketing, will My Card Ride go away?
Yeah, so this is Chris Quinn again with the Planning Department. The implementation of the ABT system, or again, the account-based ticketing, that will require updates and new equipment across the RTD system. This will include new validators updated RTD mobile ticket apps, and you will be required to get new MyRide smart cards, and then we will also be providing new devices for our fare inspectors. So just real quick, the current MyRide customers, they'll need to transfer their balance to an RTD mobile ticket account to use their phone, or obtain a new MyRide card to pay for fares. Now, as we get closer to the rollout of the new system, RTD will be sending out extensive communications on the new features and will provide instructions on how to change.
Director Broom mentioned fare capping. Chris, what does that mean?
Yeah. So it's a great new system. The way it works is that the system will accumulate fares for 3-hour trips purchased in a day or a month and automatically convert those into a day or monthly passes. So that is to say that, as an example, if maybe at the beginning of the month, ordinarily you buy a monthly pass, but on this particular month you don't think you are going to be using the system enough to actually buy a monthly pass, so instead you just buy a series of 3-hour passes. With the new system, if you rode more than you anticipated, once you hit the cost of what you would have paid for a monthly pass, it'll cap your account so that you are paying no more for each one of either your 3-hour passes or your daily passes. So it'll be a great convenience that technology is taking care of on the back end for our customers.
Great. Thank you for that. So here are the results of our last survey question. We asked, how satisfied are you with RTD services overall? 44% of you are satisfied, 33% of you are very satisfied, and 22% are somewhat dissatisfied. We've got a happy group tonight. That's always nice to hear. Director, we have run out of time and are at the end of our hours. Do you have some final closing remarks?
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and participating this evening. We're up against the Avalanche and the playoffs, which I'm sure a lot of people are interested in. Hopefully they use the RTD to get to their favorite watering hole to watch on, TV, because I'm sure tickets were hard to come by. But again, thank you very much for calling in, and we really do use and appreciate your comments that we get in these town hall meetings. And have a nice evening.
Thank you, Director. We are sorry if we did not get to your call tonight or your question tonight, but you can still leave us a message, question, or comment. Just stay on the line. On behalf of Director Bob Broom, our panelists tonight, and the hardworking public servants at RTD, thank you for taking part in this conversation. Have a great evening and go Avs.